The clock on the lab wall showed 2:18 a.m. Ju Kim yawned as she checked her notes once more. The university lab was empty at this late hour, just how she liked it. No professors looking over her shoulder. No other students asking questions, just Ju and her quantum physics experiment. Just a few more adjustments, she said to herself, turning a small dial on her device. The machine hummed to life, its blue lights reflecting off her tired face. Ju was not like other graduate students. Where they followed the rules, she broke them. Where they used old methods, she made new ones. Her professors said her ideas about quantum entanglement were too wild, too different. But Ju knew she was right. Her device was small, not much bigger than a microwave. But if it worked, it would change how scientists thought about quantum connections between particles. It might even lead to new ways to send messages across great distances. The machine's hum grew louder. Ju checked her laptop screen. The numbers were good, better than good. The energy readings were exactly what she had hoped for. It's working, she whispered, her eyes wide with excitement. Then something strange happened. The air above her device began to shimmer, like the waves of heat rising from hot pavement. Ju stepped back, confused. This wasn't part of her experiment. The shimmering grew stronger. The air twisted and turned, forming what looked like a hole in the middle of the lab. A hole made of light. What is happening? Ju reached for her phone to record this strange effect. That's when the light exploded outward, filling the room with a blinding white glow. Ju felt her feet leave the floor. Her body floated upward, toward the ceiling. She tried to scream, but no sound came out. The world around her stretched and bent, like she was being pulled through a very small tube. And then darkness. When Ju opened her eyes, she was lying on a smooth, cold floor. The room around her was nothing like her lab. The walls curved in strange ways. The lights had no clear source, glowing from the surfaces themselves. "Am I dreaming?" she said, sitting up slowly. "You are not dreaming," a voice answered. Ju jumped to her feet, spinning around to find the source of the voice. A figure stood in a doorway that had not been there a moment ago. The figure looked almost human, but not quite. Its skin had a slight blue tint. Its eyes were too large, too bright. It wore what looked like a uniform, silver and sleek. "Who are you? Where am I?" Ju asked, backing away until she hit a wall. "I am Officer Kunki," the figure said. Its mouth moved strangely around the words, like it wasn't used to speaking them. "You are aboard the Galactic Confederation vessel Harmony." Galactic? What? Is this some kind of joke? Ju looked around for hidden cameras. This had to be a prank by the other students. "This is no joke," Hyunki said. "Your quantum experiment created a signal that our ships detected. We believed it was an invitation for contact. This was a mistake." Another figure appeared beside Hyunki. This one stood taller, with darker blue skin and markings on its face. It wore a more decorated uniform. "I am Commander Doyun," the new figure said, "and you have created quite a problem for us." "Me? You're the ones who. What did you do? Kidnap me?" Ju's fear was turning to anger. "We did not intend to bring you here," Commander Doyun said. "Your species was not scheduled for first contact for another century. Your experiment accidentally tapped into our quantum communications network, something that should have been impossible for a species at your technological level." Ju's scientific mind raced with questions, but one thought rose above the rest. "You need to take me back. Right now." "That," Commander Doyun said with what might have been a sigh, "is where the problem begins. The High Council must decide what to do with you first. Human knowledge of our existence was not part of the plan." Ju felt her heart sink as she realized what the commander was saying. She might never see Earth again. Ju sat in what they called a guest quarter, though she knew it was really a cell. The room was strange, all smooth curves with no sharp edges. The bed molded to her body when she lay on it. The walls glowed with soft light that changed color based on her mood. Right now, they were an angry red. 3 hours had passed since Commander Do-yoon had left her here. Officer Hyunki stood guard by the door, watching her with those two large eyes. "How long will I be kept here?" Ju finally asked, breaking the silence. "Until the High Council decides what to do," Hyunki said. His voice sounded less strange now, as if he was learning how to speak to her better. "It could be days." "Days?" Ju jumped to her feet. "I can't stay here for days. People will look for me. My professors, my roommate. Time passes differently on this ship," Hyunki explained. "When you return, very little Earth time will have passed." Ju paused. "When I return, so I will go back." Hyunki shifted uncomfortably. "That is for the council to decide." The door slid open, and Commander Do-yoon entered. He carried what looked like a flat piece of glass. When he set it down on the table, it lit up with strange symbols. "The council has questions," Do-yoon said. "Your experiment should not have been possible for humans at this time. How did you build it?" Ju crossed her arms. "I'm not telling you anything until you promise to take me home." Do-yoon's face did something strange, a twitch around the eyes that might have been amusement or annoyance. "You misunderstand your position," he said. "We are not the enemies of humans. The Galactic Confederation observes thousands of developing species. We have protocols for first contact." "Then why am I here?" Ju demanded. "Because you broke the natural order," Do-yoon said. "Your quantum device created a signal that matched our communication network exactly. It should have taken your species another 100 years to discover this technology." Ju couldn't help but feel a small spark of pride. Her professors had been wrong. Her ideas had worked. Too well, it seemed. "I can show you how it works," she offered. "An idea forming. But only if I can see your ship in return." Do-yoon and Hyunki exchanged looks. "That would be against protocol," Do-yoon said. "Then I guess we have nothing to talk about," Ju replied, sitting back down on the bed. After a long moment, Do-yoon nodded to Hyunki. "Show her the common areas only. Nothing sensitive. I will inform the council of this arrangement." As Do-yoon left, Hyunki gestured toward the door. "This way." The corridors of the ship were vast, curving paths that seemed to go on forever. Other aliens moved about, some looking almost human, others completely different with multiple limbs or floating bodies. "How many types of aliens are there?" Ju asked, trying to hide her amazement. "The Confederation includes 317 sentient species," Hyunki said. "Humans would be the 318th when your time comes." They entered a large open area where aliens gathered around tables. Some were eating strange foods. Others worked on devices similar to computers. "This is the Commons," Hyunki explained, "where crew members socialize." An alarm suddenly blared through the ship. The aliens around them jumped to action, rushing to different exits. "What's happening?" Ju asked, panic rising in her chest. "Ship emergency," Hyunki said, gripping her arm. "We need to return to your quarters." As they turned to leave, the floor beneath them shook violently. Ju lost her balance and fell against a wall. A panel beside her head sparked and smoked. Without thinking, she reached up and pressed a sequence of buttons on the panel. The sparking stopped. Hyunki stared at her, his large eyes even wider than before. "How did you know how to do that?" he asked. Ju looked at her hands, then at the panel. I don't know. It just looked like it needed to reset the power cycle. Like my quantum device when it overloads." Hyunki's expression changed to something Ju couldn't read. "I need to report this to Commander Do-yoon," he said quietly. "Humans shouldn't be able to understand our technology so easily." Ju realized she had just made her situation much more complicated. After the ship emergency ended, Commander Do-yoon ordered Ju to be brought to a large room filled with screens and control panels. 5 alien officers worked at different stations. They all turned to stare at Ju when she entered. "Show me what you did," Do-yoon said. His voice was calm, But Juwu could tell he was troubled. Hyunki led her to a panel similar to the one she had fixed. Explain how you knew what to do. Juwu studied the panel. The symbols were alien, but the layout made sense to her somehow. It's not very different from Earth technology, she said. You have power flowing through these lines. She pointed to glowing blue paths on the panel. But your system creates small feedback loops here and here. She touched two spots where the blue lines twisted around themselves. A female alien with purple-tinted skin stepped forward. That's impossible. She shouldn't be able to read our systems. I'm not reading them, Juwu explained. I'm just seeing how they work. It's like, when you look at a river, you can see where it might flood, even if you've never seen that river before. This is what I feared, Do-yoon said. Her species develops intuitive understanding of systems. It's dangerous. Dangerous. Juwu felt angry now. How is understanding things dangerous? Do-yoon ignored her question. Instead, he turned to the purple-skinned alien. Minji, take her to the quantum lab. Test her knowledge. Minji looked unhappy, but nodded. This way, human. The quantum lab was much larger than Juwu's lab at the university. Strange machines hummed and pulsed with energy. In the center stood a device that reminded Juwu of her own experiment, but much more advanced. This is our quantum communication array, Minji explained. It connects all Confederation ships across the galaxy. Juwu circled the machine, studying it from all angles. It's beautiful, she said. But you have a problem with it, don't you? Minji's eyes narrowed. What do you mean? These connections here. Juwu pointed to where several tubes met in a complicated junction. They create interference patterns. That's why you get cascade failures. Minji's mouth opened slightly. How did you know about the cascade failures? Juwu shrugged. It's obvious from the design. If you move this connection here, she pointed to a different spot, and adjusted the flow rate, you wouldn't have that problem. The doors slid open, and another alien entered. This one had green markings on his blue skin and wore what looked like a tool belt. Shunho, our chief engineer, Minji introduced him. He wants to see your human insights. Shunho approached Juwu cautiously. Commander Do-yoon says you fixed a power panel by intuition alone. It wasn't that impressive, Juwu said. Your systems are just overcomplicated. Like they were built by adding new parts to old designs instead of starting fresh. Shunho and Minji exchanged looks. That's exactly what we do, Shunho said. Our species values tradition. We improve what exists rather than replace it. But sometimes starting new is better, Juwu argued. She walked to another machine that was making a slight rattling noise. Like this navigation system, it's trying to calculate too many variables at once. You could simplify it. Shunho watched her closely. Show me how. For the next hour, Juwu pointed out flaws and suggested improvements to various systems. The aliens seemed both impressed and disturbed by her insights. Finally, Commander Do-yoon returned. He had been watching from another room. The council has made a decision, he announced. The human knows too much about our technology now. She cannot return to Earth until we understand how she does this. What? Juwu spun to face him. You can't keep me here. Actually, Do-yoon said, we can. And there's something else you should know. He walked to a large screen and pressed a button. An image appeared. Earth, beautiful and blue, growing larger. We're not leaving Earth, Do-yoon said. We're approaching it. The Confederation needs to assess the threat your species poses. Juwu felt her heart sink. Threat? We're not a threat to you. A species that can understand our technology this easily. Do-yoon shook his head. I think you are the greatest threat we've ever faced. Juwu couldn't sleep that night. Her guest quarter felt more like a prison now. She paced back and forth, thinking about Earth. What did the aliens plan to do? Why did they see humans as a threat? I need to get out of here, she whispered to herself. During her tour with Hyunki and the time in the quantum lab, Juwu had noticed things about the ship. how the doors worked, how the panels connected to the main systems. She was good at seeing patterns. It was what made her a talented physicist. She waited until the ship's lights dimmed, what she guessed was their night cycle. Then she went to work. The panel by her bed controlled the room settings. With careful touches, she bypassed the security lock. Yes, she whispered when the panel turned green. She had access to the ship's basic systems now. From there, she found the door controls. One more careful adjustment, and the door slid open with a soft hiss. Ju peeked into the hallway. Empty. She stepped out, heart pounding. Where should she go? She needed to find a way to communicate with Earth, to warn them, or maybe find a smaller ship she could use to escape. Ju moved quietly through the curved hallways, hiding whenever she heard voices. She found her way back to the commons area, now empty except for one alien sleeping at a table. She slipped past and continued through another doorway. This new area was filled with what looked like small ships. Transport vessels, maybe. Hope flared in Juwoo's chest. Could she fly one of these? She approached the nearest ship and placed her hand on the entry panel. To her surprise, it opened immediately. Their security was not designed to keep humans out. Why would it be? Humans weren't supposed to be here. Inside, the ship was small but had controls similar to those she had seen in the quantum lab. Ju sat in the pilot's seat and studied the panels. I can figure this out, she told herself. It's just like a very complicated video game. She pressed what she thought was the power button. The ship hummed to life. Lights flickered across the control panels. Ju smiled. This might actually work. Then an alarm blared. Red lights flashed inside the small ship and throughout the hangar. Ju frantically pressed more buttons, trying to launch the ship, but nothing happened. The ship's door slid open, and Commander Do-yoon stood there with 4 security officers. I'm impressed, he said as the officers pulled Ju from the seat. Most species would not have figured out how to access our systems so quickly. Let me go. Ju struggled against the officers. What are you planning to do to Earth? Do-yoon watched her with those strange, large eyes. I will show you. The officers took Ju to a large command room she hadn't seen before. A massive screen showed Earth, much closer now. She could see the continents clearly. A tall, imposing alien with red markings on his face stood before the screen. His uniform had more decorations than Do-yoon's. Admiral Taewoo, Do-yoon said with a slight bow. The human tried to escape. Admiral Taewoo turned to study Ju. So this is what they look like up close. Small, soft. Hard to believe they pose such a danger. What danger? Ju demanded. We haven't done anything to you. Not yet, Admiral Taewoo said. But you will. Your species develops too quickly, thinks too creatively. The Confederation has studied your history. You advance through conflict. You turn peaceful technologies into weapons. He gestured to the screen. We are deploying a containment field around your planet. It will suppress certain technological developments, particularly in quantum physics. Your people will never know. They will simply hit barriers they cannot overcome. Ju felt sick. You're going to hold back human progress. For how long? Until you evolve past your violent tendencies, Admiral Taewoo said. Perhaps 1,000 years. Do-yoon stepped forward. Admiral, the Council hasn't approved this plan yet. We're only here to assess. The assessment is complete. Taewoo cut him off. The containment begins in 6 hours. As the officers led Ju away, she caught Do-yoon's eye. Something in his expression was different. Was it doubt? Concern? Back in her room, Ju sat on her bed, head in her hands. 6 hours until Earth's future was locked away. She had to do something. But what could one human girl do against an entire alien civilization? Then her door slid open. Hyunki stood there, looking nervous. Commander Do-yoon wants to speak with you, he whispered, privately. Hyunki led Ju through back hallways she hadn't seen before. They moved quickly, avoiding the main paths where other aliens might see them. "Where are we going?" Ju whispered. "Maintenance level," Hyunki replied. "It's the only place without security cameras." They entered a small room filled with pipes and humming machines. Commander Do-yoon was already there, along with Chunho the engineer and Minji, the purple-skinned alien from the quantum lab. "Thank you for coming," Do-yoon said. His voice was quieter than usual. "What I'm about to tell you could cost me my position, or worse." Ju crossed her arms. "Why should I trust you? You kidnapped me, and now you're planning to lock down my entire planet." "I am not planning anything," Do-yoon said firmly. "Admiral Tae-woo is, and he doesn't speak for all of us." Minji stepped forward. "The Confederation is divided into factions. Some, like Admiral Tae-woo, fear new species and want to control them. Others, like us, believe in cooperation and exchange." "Tae-woo arranged your capture," Junho added. "He's been watching Earth for years, looking for an excuse to implement the containment field. Your quantum experiment gave him that excuse." Juwoo's mind raced. "So you're saying some of you want to help Earth?" "We want to help both our civilizations," Do-yoon said. "The Confederation has grown stagnant. We haven't had a major technological breakthrough in 200 years. Because most Confederation species think alike," Hyunki explained. "We evolve with rigid, specialized thinking. It helps us build stable societies, but it limits innovation." Minji nodded. "Then we saw how you looked at our systems, how quickly you found flaws and solutions we've missed for generations. Humans think differently. We value that difference," Do-yoon said. "Tae-woo fears it." Ju felt a small spark of hope. "So you'll help me stop the containment field?" "Yes," Do-yoon said. "But it won't be easy. Tae-woo has most of the crew's support. The containment technology is already being prepared. We need to buy time," Junho said. "The full council could overrule Tae-woo if we can reach them. But the nearest council representative is 3 days away, and the containment begins in 6 hours, Ju reminded them. The aliens fell silent, looking at each other. "What if," Ju began slowly, "what if we could modify the containment field? Change what it does?" Junho looked interested. "How?" "I don't know yet, but if your technology works the way I think it does, we might be able to create a feedback loop. Make it look like the field deployed, but actually have it disable itself." "That could work," Junho said, excitement in his voice. "The field generators use quantum resonance patterns similar to your experiment. We'd need access to the control systems," Minji pointed out. "Those are heavily guarded." "I can get us access," Do-yoon said. "As second in command, I can authorize system checks before deployment." "Why are you helping me?" Ju asked suddenly. "You're risking everything." Do-yoon was quiet for a moment. "Because Tae-woo represents everything wrong with the Confederation. We've become so afraid of change that we would rather hold back other species than learn from them." Hyunki stepped closer to Ju. "There's something else you should know. I've been researching in the ancient archives. Humans weren't unknown to us before your experiment." Everyone turned to him in surprise, even Do-yoon. "What do you mean?" Ju asked. "There are records, very old ones, that mention Earth. They're mostly locked away, but I found references. The Confederation encountered humans thousands of years ago, then quarantined your planet and erased the contact from official history." "Why?" Minji asked. "The records don't say exactly, but they mention dangerous unpredictability and unsettling cognitive patterns. Whatever happened made the Confederation fear humans enough to isolate Earth completely." Ju felt a chill run down her spine. "So we're not making first contact. We're being rediscovered." "Yes," Hyunki said. "And some in the Confederation want to make sure humans never join galactic society." Do-yoon straightened his uniform. "Then we need to prove them wrong. We have 5 hours to save your planet's future. Ju, let's get to work." The maintenance room became their planning center. Ju stood beside Junho at a small control panel as he showed her the designs for the containment field. The field works by creating a quantum barrier around Earth, Junho explained. It will block certain types of energy patterns, specifically ones used in advanced quantum research. Juhu studied the glowing diagrams. So my experiment would never have worked if this field was already in place. Exactly, Junho said. And no one on Earth would know why. They would just hit a wall in their research. Doyoon returned with data chips and small devices he had collected from different parts of the ship. I've gathered what we need, he said. But we must be careful. Taewoo has placed his people at all key positions. Minji worked at another panel, her purple fingers moving quickly over the controls. I've accessed the deployment schedule. The field generators will be moved into position in 3 hours. Activation is set for 2 hours after that. How does the field actually work? Juhu asked. Junho pulled up more diagrams. 12 satellites will be placed in orbit around Earth. Each creates a part of the field. When they link together, the complete barrier forms. Juwoo's mind raced with ideas. What if we modify the generators to create a feedback loop? If the quantum signals reflect back into the satellites instead of forming a barrier, they would disable themselves. Junho finished, excitement in his voice. But we would need to alter each generator's programming. I can do that, Minji said. But I need access to the control systems. Doyoon nodded. I can get you that access. As second in command, I'm supposed to verify the systems before deployment. What about Taewoo? Hyunki asked. He watches everything. I'll distract him, Doyoon said. I'll call a meeting of senior officers to discuss the containment protocols. That should give you enough time. There's something else we should do, Juhu suggested. I've been thinking about why the Confederation fears humans so much. Maybe we can change their minds. How? Minji asked. By showing them what humans can offer. If I can improve some of your systems, fix problems your engineers haven't solved, maybe they'll see that humans are worth talking to, not containing. Junho looked thoughtful. The ship's quantum communication system has been having cascade failures for years. If you could solve that. I can try, Juhu said, but I'll need your help to understand the system better. While Junho and Juhu worked on the communication system, Hyunki continued searching through the ancient records. I found something else, he said after a while. A reference to a human artifact the Confederation took thousands of years ago. It's described as the unpredictable box and was considered so dangerous it was locked in a secure vault on the Confederation-owned world. What was dangerous about it? Juhu asked. It doesn't say exactly, Hyunki replied. But it mentions that the box thinks in ways that should not be possible and solves problems without following known rules of logic. That sounds like human intuition, Juhu said. We often make mental leaps that don't follow strict logical steps, which is exactly what frightens species like ours, Minji added. We value order and predictable patterns. Doyoon checked the time. We have 2 hours before the field generators move into position. Juhu and Junho continue working on the communication system improvements. Minji, prepare the modifications for the generators. Hyunki, you'll help me gather political support among other species representatives on board. What if this doesn't work? Juhu asked quietly. Doyoon placed a hand on her shoulder. It was the first friendly touch from any of the aliens, and it surprised her. Then at least we tried to do what was right, he said. Sometimes that's all we can do. As they prepared to separate and carry out their tasks, the door to the maintenance room suddenly sealed shut with a loud click. A voice came through the communication system. Attention all crew. Security alert in progress. Remain where you are. The 5 looked at each other in alarm. We've been discovered, Doyoon said. How did they find us? Junho asked, his voice shaking. Doyoon tried to open the door, but it remained sealed. Someone must have reported our meeting. Or someone told them. Hyunki looked at each person in the room. Someone here could be a spy for Admiral Taewoo. Silence fell over the group as they looked at each other with suspicion. Then Minji stepped back, pulling a small device from her pocket. She pointed it at the others. "I'm sorry," she said. Her voice was cold now, different from before. "Admiral Taewoo is right about humans. They're too dangerous to be allowed to develop freely." Minji. Ju couldn't believe it. "You've been helping Taewoo all along." "I've been watching all of you," Minji said, "recording your plans. The Admiral knows everything." Doyoon moved forward slowly. "Minji, think about what you're doing. Taewoo's plan goes against everything the Confederation stands for. We're supposed to help species grow, not hold them back." "You're naive, Commander," Minji said. "Some species need to be controlled. Humans most of all." The door slid open. 4 security officers stood outside with weapons ready. Admiral Taewoo stood behind them, his tall figure imposing. "Arrest them all," Taewoo ordered. "The human and Hunky go to special holding. The others to the brig." The officers grabbed Juwoo and Hunky. 2 more took hold of Hyuno. But as they reached for Doyoon, he moved with surprising speed. He pushed one officer into another and darted past them into the hallway. "Find him," Taewoo shouted. 2 officers ran after Doyoon. Taewoo turned to Juwoo with his large, cold eyes. "Your friend has only delayed the inevitable." Juwoo and Hunky were taken to a small bare room with metal walls. This was not like her previous quarters. This was clearly a cell. The door sealed with a heavy sound. "I'm sorry," Hunky said once they were alone. "I never suspected Minji." "What will happen to Juno?" Ju asked. "He'll be questioned, then probably removed from his position," Hunky said. "Doyoon faces worse if they catch him. Treason against the Confederation." Hours passed. Ju paced the small cell, trying to think of a way out. But there was no panel to hack, no system to override, just smooth walls and a sealed door. Finally, the door opened. Admiral Taewoo entered, followed by Minji. "It's time we had an honest conversation," Taewoo said, "about humans and the Confederation." "What is there to talk about?" Ju asked bitterly. "You've already decided to lock down my planet. Do you know why?" Taewoo asked. He seemed almost curious. "Do you understand the real reason we fear humans?" "Because we think differently," Ju said. "Because we solve problems in ways you don't expect." "Because you are dangerous," Taewoo corrected. "This is not the first time the Confederation has encountered humans." Hunky found records of an earlier contact, Ju said. Taewoo looked at Hunky with annoyance. "Yes, 5,000 years ago, a scout ship visited Earth. They made contact with early human civilizations. They shared some basic technology as a goodwill gesture." "What happened?" Ju asked. "Within 1 generation, humans had not only mastered that technology but improved it. Within 2 generations, they had weapons based on it. The Confederation had to remove all traces of their visit and place Earth under quarantine. That doesn't make us evil," Ju argued. "It makes us adaptable. It makes you unpredictable," Taewoo said. "Other species develop slowly, following logical paths. Humans make leaps that defy logic. You see connections where none should exist." Minji stepped forward. "The containment field isn't to protect humans. It's to protect the Confederation from humans. If your species joined galactic society, within a century you would overtake species that have been developing for millennia." Ju realized the full truth now. It wasn't fear of human violence that drove the Confederation's decision. It was fear of human potential. "The deployment begins in 30 minutes, Taewoo said. "Your friends can't stop it now." As he turned to leave, an explosion rocked the ship. The lights flickered, then went out. In the darkness, Ju heard the door slide open. "Ju, Hunky, this way." It was Chunho's voice. Taewoo shouted for guards, but in the confusion, Ju felt a hand grab hers, pulling her through the doorway into the darkened corridor beyond. Ju ran through the dark hallways, guided by Junho's firm grip on her hand. Hyunki followed close behind. Emergency lights cast a red glow over everything, making the ship look strange and alien in new ways. "Where are we going?" Ju asked between breaths. "To meet Do-yoon," Junho replied. "He caused the explosion as a distraction. He's waiting for us in the field control room." "How did you escape?" Hyunki asked. When the lights went out, the cell doors unlocked for a few seconds. Junho explained. A safety feature Do-yoon activated. They turned a corner and nearly ran into two security officers. Junho pulled Ju and Hyunki into a small service tunnel just in time. "This way," Junho whispered, pointing to a narrow path between large pipes. "It's a maintenance tunnel that leads to the control level." They crawled through the tight space. It was hot and smelled like oil. After what felt like forever, they reached a small hatch. Junho pushed it open, and they climbed out into a quiet hallway. "The control room is there." Junho pointed to a door at the end of the hall. "Do-yoon should be inside." They approached carefully. Ju's heart pounded in her chest. When the door slid open, they rushed inside. Commander Do-yoon stood at the main control panel. His uniform was torn and dirty, and a dark blue mark, what Ju guessed was a bruise for his species, spread across his face. "You made it," he said with relief. "We have 12 minutes before the field generators launch." "What's the plan?" Ju asked. "I'd lock the doors, but it won't hold them for long," Do-yoon said. "We need to reprogram the field generators quickly." Junho went to one panel, his fingers moving fast over the controls. "I can access the launch systems from here, but I can't stop them completely." Ju studied the field generator designs on the main screen. An idea formed in her mind, not just to disable the containment field, but to turn it into something else. "I think I can do more than just stop the field," she said. "I can reprogram it to fix many of the problems I've seen in Confederation technology." "How?" Do-yoon asked. "The field works by creating quantum resonance patterns, right? What if we reverse those patterns? Instead of blocking quantum development, it could enhance it, not just for Earth, but for your ships too." Hyunki looked concerned. "That's a big change to make in 10 minutes. "I know," Ju said, "but it's worth trying." She moved to the main control panel. "Junho, can you give me access to the field generator programming?" Junho worked quickly, then nodded. "Done. You have control now." Ju's fingers flew over the alien controls. Strange symbols flashed on the screen, but somehow she understood what they meant. It was like her brain had been waiting for this challenge her whole life. "What exactly are you doing?" Do-yoon asked, watching over her shoulder. "I'm changing the field to create a demonstration," Ju explained as she worked. "When activated, instead of containing Earth, it will send a pulse through the Confederation's quantum network. The pulse will carry corrections to the flaws I found in your systems." A loud bang shook the door. Admiral Taewoo's voice came through the communication system. "This is your last warning. Commander Do-yoon, open this door immediately." 5 minutes until launch, Hyunki reported, watching the countdown. The banging on the door grew louder. Metal groaned as something heavy slammed against it. "They're using a breaching tool," Do-yoon said. "The door won't hold much longer." Ju worked faster, sweat running down her face. The symbols on the screen began to glow green as her changes took effect. "It's working," she whispered. With a terrible screech, the door began to open. Armed officers pushed through the gap, weapons raised. Admiral Taewoo stepped in behind them, his face filled with anger. "Stop what you're doing," he commanded. But it was too late. Ju pressed the final control. "Launch now," she shouted to Junho. As Taewoo's officers rushed forward, Junho hit the launch button. The ship shuddered as the 12 field generators blasted away from the ship toward Earth. "What have you done?" Taewoo demanded. Ju stood tall, facing the Admiral. "I've shown you what humans can really do." The screens around them lit up with incoming messages from all over the ship. System after system reported sudden improvements, errors resolving, efficiency increasing. The demonstration had begun.